When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Remembering an iconic civil rights leader and Chicagoan. He grew up as a kid in South Carolina.
I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me.
And made Chicago his home, fighting for those who didn't have a voice.
The marching for fair share and equal protection under the law.
Went on to inspire millions.
Pick up your slingshot, pick up your rock, declare our time.
And unified the Democratic Party.
We must never surrender. America will get better and better.
Tonight, you'll hear from the Reverend Jesse Jackson's family and those who knew him best about the man who keeps hope alive. Good evening. Tonight, a CBS News Chicago special remembering the Reverend Jesse Jackson. In the early morning hours, the civil rights leader died with his family and friends surrounding him.
For the next 30 minutes, we are going to bring you some of the most meaningful moments of Jackson's career, which he spent fighting for equality in life, business, and politics. Let's start, though, with Jim Williams, who looks back on his storied career of activism and ministry.
Jesse Jackson's arrival in Chicago at the age of 25 was a virtual baptism by fire. Greeted by angry crowds as he marched with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was also in Memphis when Dr. King was assassinated.
Somehow this nation has to continue to be challenged and to be transformed from what it is to what it ought to be.
4 decades later, he stood in Grant Park, tears in his eyes, as the election of Barack Obama moved a giant step closer to that transformation. Jesse Louis Jackson was raised in Greenville, South Carolina. A series of yearbook photos shows him growing up. At age 19, as a member of the so-called Greenville 8, he picketed the city's segregated public library.
I am somebody.
He was one of the most captivating orators of our time, first heading the Chicago chapter of Operation Breadbasket, then founding Operation Push in 1971. Voter registration drives turned his attention to politics and were instrumental in the election of Harold Washington, Chicago's first African-American mayor, and then his own candidacy for president.
For President of the United States, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
He campaigned in big cities and small towns, surprising experts by winning 3 million votes and 5 Democratic presidential primaries in 1984. Now a major force nationally and internationally, taking time out from campaigning to negotiate the release of a Navy pilot shot down by Syria over Lebanon.
Reverend Jackson's mission was a personal mission of mercy.
He later won the freedom of 22 Americans being held in Cuba and 3 U.S. soldiers captured while patrolling with a UN peacekeeping force in Macedonia. In the 1988 campaign, his Rainbow Push coalition had grown to 7 million voters, enough to win 11 primaries and caucuses, enough to win the support of these working people.
And I just respect Jesse for coming and doing what he's doing.
All of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
But he was not immune from the usual political pitfall.
However innocent and unintended, it was insensitive and wrong.
In 1984, he referred to New York City as Hymietown, infuriating the Jewish community. In 1998, a staffer who accompanied him to the White House to counsel President Bill Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky scandal turned out to be pregnant with his child. Barack Obama's election should have been a proud and triumphant moment for Jackson, as few would dispute the fact that it was Jackson who paved the way for an African American to the White House. But instead of being celebrated and embraced, he was relegated to a minor role in the campaign, especially after having to apologize for his private conversation caught on tape criticizing the president-to-be.
There are some who say that you were deliberately pushed aside from the campaign.
There may have been those who thought that. I don't think Barack did. I certainly didn't.
In 2015, Reverend Jackson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He kept the diagnosis quiet until 2017, when he informed the public of his disease. Despite the health setback, he continued his work as an activist. Activism celebrated around the world. In July of 2021, he received France's highest order of merit. Jesse Jackson's life included campaigns for equal opportunity, a war on drugs, universal health care, and opening up the political process, all ultimately embraced by others in his eyes, as we saw back in 1988, always on the prize.
We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Our Jim Williams joins us now. Jim, you spent years covering the Reverend. Looking back now, what stands out to you?
He was relentless and tireless. He traveled the world. He was involved in all sorts of issues, big and small. Didn't matter where he was, he gave all of himself to it. Just 100% passion. I remember once he was, during the mayoral campaign of 1989, he was at Rainbow Push speaking at his Saturday morning gathering. The auditorium was packed full of people, and he made an appeal for funds for Mayor Eugene Sawyer. And the place was packed at first. Toward the end of the appeal, there might have been 12 people in the audience, and he was just as fiery and just as passionate.
No matter the size of the crowd.
No matter the size. And, you know, once he was making the rounds of all the local morning shows, and I was anchoring in the morning at that time, and I believe he was trying to demand that there be AIDS testing of inmates at Cook County Jail. And I said to him during a commercial break, I said, Reverend Jackson, he's in his 70s at this point. I said, Reverend Jackson, you got up in the middle of the night to make these rounds. Why do you do this at this stage in your life? And he said, it's my job, man.
Yeah.
It's my job.
It's the work. And he was omnipresent, no doubt. I mean, we were talking a minute ago about all the pictures and the video. He's like Forrest Gump. He shows up in every big event in history. There he is.
You know what? I'm 69 years old. I can't remember a time when Jesse Jackson was not involved in our lives here in Chicago.
Right. Making an impact.
Because, you know, he had an international scope, but he focused a lot of attention on Chicago and was a true big Chicago sports fan, by the way.
Yeah.
More coming up with you in a minute,
yes.
Jim. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, Jim, you remember in 1988, Jackson brought his presidential campaign to a convention climax, asking Democrats to stand united against the Republicans.
His speech was the main event on the second night of the Democratic National Convention. In fact, the crowd was so big, the fire marshals actually closed the gates.
You see, Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you are qualified, and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive on tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much.
Well, Jackson's two presidential campaigns did not earn him a nomination. He helped register millions of black voters and built a multi-racial coalition of voters.
Jackson's family was with him when he died early this morning.
Our Sabrina Franza spent the day talking with some of his children. Sabrina, they say he was their biggest supporter.
Joe, Erica, they both told us, we spoke to two of his children today, and they both said that they took comfort in the fact they felt their dad had completed his mission before his passing, and he wasn't alone when he passed on. Of course, they spoke about his work as a civil rights leader, but they also talked about him as a dad and how he would make time for the small moments to be with them, to show up for them, just like he showed up for so many people. We're talking sporting events, recitals, even prom in one case. They talked about wanting to keep his legacy alive.
And he began understanding that just because he might have been born in a slum, the slum wasn't born in him, and that became his ministry. It became his motivating force. So when he talked with presidents or world leaders, or when he spoke with men or women in barbershops and beauty shops, he preached into them this idea of somebodyness, that they are not trapped on their side of town. They are not isolated. They are part of a global world. They're all children of God, and that motivated Jesse Jackson.
We have people who will be trillionaires and people who are falling through the floor. That's not right. And so he continued to fight for that. He continued to fight for, as he put it in his 1984 Democratic Convention speech, the damned, the dispossessed, the despised. I know my mother and all of his children were fighting to do in our own way, in our own spaces, because people need advocates for the least of these.
Joe, Erica, we're standing here at the Jackson family home. They have lived here for decades, and all day we've also watched as neighbors, even some strangers, have stopped by, and they've put flowers and balloons in one case to pay their respects to the Reverend Jesse Jackson. In some cases, they told us stories of when they met him and the impact that he left not just on them, but on the community as a whole. One thing I do want to point out, the balloons here, one of them marks a simple message written in Sharpie on one of those balloons. It just says, "Thank you." Joe, Erica.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Even in his later years, Reverend Jesse Jackson was a leader, offering to be one of the first to get the COVID-19 vaccine during the pandemic.
The civil rights activist says he wanted to encourage people of color and the elderly to get vaccinated to save their lives. Jackson got his shot at Roseland Hospital, where many staffers were refusing to take the vaccine, concerned over false reports it had dangerous side effects. In 2017, Jackson urged fans to boycott the NFL in support of a football player named Colin Kaepernick.
Remember him? The San Francisco 49ers quarterback took a knee during the national anthem to protest police brutality and racial injustice. Jackson said at a Detroit news conference that the former quarterback's right to speech and gainful employment was violated. Jackson had suggested Kaepernick take legal action. Another one of Jackson's most memorable moments was on Sesame Street.
The call and response from 1972 was even recorded on an album.
They on the stump? Yeah. Okay, here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor. But I am somebody. I may be young. But I am somebody. I may be on welfare. But I am somebody. I may be small. But I am somebody. I may make a mistake. But I am somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different. But I am somebody. I am black, brown, white. I speak a different language. But I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Give yourself a big hand.
One of the most poignant moments of the 2024 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, when Reverend Jesse Jackson appeared on stage along with his two sons and the Reverend Al Sharpton. He received a huge round of applause, and that smile on his face said it all. Reverend Jackson has been part of so many pivotal moments in our nation's history. In 1968, he witnessed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination while at the Lorraine Motel.
Back in 2018, on the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, our Jim Williams sat down with Reverend Jackson as he remembered the painful loss of his friend and mentor.
It's easy to forget just how young the Reverend Jesse Jackson was back then.
But you couldn't have been more than 23, 24 years old then, right?
24, back when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was his mentor.
This is one of those special kind of moments.
In April of 1968, Jackson, only 26 and living in Chicago, was summoned along with other aides to Dr. King's home in Atlanta. He was in a grave mood, attacked for speaking out against the Vietnam War, and even taking heat from other African-American leaders. He told the group,
maybe I could just quit. Maybe I've done as much as I can do in 13 years. Maybe I could just fast to the point of death.
But first, he'd go to Memphis to rally support for sanitation workers there. Jackson says Dr. King was in no mood to speak on the night of April 3rd, but found the energy to give what turned out to be his last speech.
And I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I saw ministers crying. And ministers and film directors don't cry very much.
The next day, April 4th, at the Lorraine Motel, Dr. King teased Jackson about his casual attire before dinner.
I said, Doc, the prerequisite for eating is an appetite, not a tie. He said, you're crazy. We laughed.
Moments later, as Dr. King, Reverend Jackson, and others stood on the motel balcony,
He raised it, pow! He raised up, but it hit him and severed his tie. He back against the wall, and he just like out of it.
When you saw your friend and mentor in that condition, what was going through your head?
I was traumatized. It was full of pain and anger and sorrow and desperation and many emotions at the same time.
The white people do not know it, but the white people's best friend is dead.
50 years later, for the Reverend Jesse Jackson recalling that terrible night, the pain is still raw.
Every time the scab comes off, the wound is fresh again.
But his resolve, then and now,
What I was clear on, we could not let one bullet kill the whole movement. I was clear, if you're playing the big game and the best player gets hurt, you can't forfeit the game. You can't run away, you got to keep fighting.
So after witnessing this violence, he had his own threats against his life over the years, Jim.
Especially when he ran for president in 1984, 1988. He was surrounded by security because they received so many death threats.
You know, the Sesame Street reminded me just how media savvy he was as well. He read Green Eggs and Ham on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And he understood to have his news conferences from Push on Saturdays because he knew the media needed stories on a Saturday.
He did, and he was willing to make the rounds. As we were talking earlier, he visited local television stations often, sometimes unannounced, to be interviewed. And we willingly did it because he was one of the most important voices in the country.
All right. Jim, thank you always for your insight and your coverage over the years.
Thank you both.
Over the years, Jesse Jackson regularly met with Chicago mayors and other key leaders. Here he is in 1971 explaining the Black Power handshake to the first Mayor Daley.
Then 12 years later, Jesse Jackson is at Harold Washington's side on the night he won the Democratic primary for mayor, paving the way for Washington to become the city's first black mayor.
And here's another picture with Lori Lightfoot. This was from 2019. Today, Lightfoot called him a brilliant strategist who specialized in helping those in need.
Jackson knew many local and national politicians, among them Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to then-President Barack Obama.
For Jarrett, Jackson's legacy is personal.
Grew up around the corner from Rainbow Push. So Reverend Jackson had a very close relationship, as you know, with my father-in-law. So he's been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And his legacy, not just in Chicago, but around the country and in fact the world, he is one of the people upon whose shoulders we all stand. And so I think about his contribution and not just what he was able to get done, but also the inspiration he gave to so many to think, well, I could do that. I remember when he was running for president, watching the convention, sitting in my bedroom and listening to his son give the speech, introducing his father's name. And I remember thinking, could our country be ready for a black man to be president? And lo and behold, later we were. We showed that we were.
Jarrett is now the CEO of the Obama Foundation. One of the iconic places Jesse Jackson visited a number of times in his life, a bridge in Selma, Alabama. But as we know, not just any bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, better known as the site of the Bloody Sunday Voting Rights March. Jackson returned in March of 2025, less than a year ago, to commemorate what happened there 60 years earlier. Thank you so much for joining us for this special remembering the life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Joe Donlin.
And I'm Erica Sargent. We want to leave you with video from 1963, one of the times Jackson led a crowd through his famous I Am Somebody chants.
I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected.